evening, everybody, and we've got a lot of things to do tonight, so let's get started. If we all stand and we'll pray. Amen. Mr. Kelly, I'm going to ask you to pray. Would you do that? Sure.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for another day. We thank you for the freedom that we have in this country still. We thank you for this meeting tonight. We just ask that you watch over this meeting. We ask that you guide our hearts and our minds, and let us believe in you and see your goodness shine through all the candidates, through all the information that we have here tonight, and that we will be blessed by it. And we just thank you for being our Lord and Savior, and we pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Before we get started with what's on the menu tonight, I've asked Reuben Tarver. I thought I saw him come in. There you are. Public apology that we didn't get you in the last meeting, and we wanted to make sure to get you in this one. And I'm sorry there's a smaller crowd, but these are some good people that can get other people's attention. So Reuben, why don't you come on up? Bless you, sir.
Well, hello everyone.
Hello.
Well, I'm Reuben Tarver, running for House District 52, and I didn't really want to do this, but I'm not really impressed with how things are being run. Is anyone impressed with how things are being run?
No.
So, you know, our gun rights, they're chipping away at that. If they can get rid of the guns, of course, this will be an easy takeover, and that's what they're going for. So I want to fight for our gun rights. Bill tells me this, that I don't even know which one it was they just passed down there, but the last clause in there basically gives the feds the right to use our officers against us. So we got to get that repealed. And of course, I assume everyone's seen the hate mail that's going out against Bill right now, calling him a red flag lover or whatever it is. Anyway, I think we need to do something about the gaslighting. You know, this is something that just blows my mind. They lie, and there's a lot of good folks in this country that are lied to repeatedly. And I'm going to use my mother-in-law for example. She's a good woman, but she's a CNN follower. So do I need to tell you how her views lean? But they're being lied to, and there has to be some accountability. State level, county level, federal level, we have zero accountability. Our politicians are liars, our media is liars. So what do we got to do about that? I don't have the answer, but we got to get good people in there to fight for accountability, and we got to get the ship flipped over here pretty quick, or we're going to be learning how to breathe water. Gun rights, I don't probably need to say much. I ain't going to go over that. Oil and gas. So I'm very much pro oil and gas. That's what I do. I'm a rancher, but of course I don't pay bills, so I had to get into the oil and gas market. And they're really trying to squish us down. They don't want us to build refineries. They don't want us to. So I talked to some old timers. I was in Clark Hot Oiling last week, and I didn't know this, but in the 60s and 70s, we had refineries all over the state of Wyoming. Did you guys know that?
Oh yeah.
And of course, they just regulated them out. They don't want them. They don't want us to be self-sufficient or self-sustaining. They want the federal government in control of everything. So they just basically push us to the side. We got to get that back. We got to get the federal monies out of our state. We got to get small blue-collar workers running again, in my mind. And I'm getting a little hate from some folks about getting the federal money out of the state of Wyoming. They think that it can't be done. So I've been doing some inquiries. We pay in roughly $1 billion in state and federal taxes. Well, guess about how much we take from them? About the same, but of course they take their cut. So why do we need to do the flip-flop so we can live under their strings? Makes no sense. I mean, I look at the federal government, I think, my goodness, who would want to follow this buffoon train? It's disgusting. Anyway, coal and power plants. Who remembers the Two Elks project? What happened to it? The money disappeared, that's what happened to it. Okay, so that was a federal grant that came in, and I think it was 10 million bucks. And so here's how it works. Okay, I could get a grant to start a power plant, and I'll make myself the president of it. And I'm gonna pay myself $500,000 a year. I ain't gonna do nothing, of course. I'm just gonna pay myself $500,000 a year. And when the money runs out, whoops, I'm out of business. But that's how these programs work. And it's just another way to siphon money out of the federal government into politicians or politicians' kids or whomever. It's just a system, okay? We gotta get rid of all of that, in my opinion, okay? Forestry and lumber. We got tons of forestry. Why aren't we building, why aren't we using our forestry? Well, it's all tied back to federal monies. Our schools, there's a lot of people upset about how our schools are being run. You just mentioned that earlier. We don't really have control over our schools. That's the sad part, because we take all these federal funds, and we may have to cut back. We may have to get rid of some sports. I don't know what we'll have to do, but where there's a will, there's a way. It can be done, but we got to bring the power back to the local folks. We have to run our own schools the way we want to run. I mean, if we want to have 15 different bathrooms, I guess, and we all vote on it, I guess that's what we'll have, is 15 different bathrooms. But anyway, two's all I need, thanks. Hospitals, same thing. Federal monies there are dictating how our hospitals are ran. A lot of folks passed away over the last couple of years that I believe didn't need to, okay? Because you couldn't even say ivermectin. I mean, holy cow, you might as well just throw a rape out and you'd be put in prison if you would have said ivermectin. It's a sad situation. I think it would have saved a lot of folks. If we get rid of the federal money, we can run our hospitals how we see fit. Ranching and farming. Oh, I love ranching and farming. So, my dad passed away in 15, and he loved the cool bill. You guys know what that is? Country of Origin Labeling. Well, it just cost so much to put that sticker on, they just couldn't afford it. It just cost too much. That's what they said. But of course, what it really boiled down to was the bottom line. Okay, you can buy Argentina, Brazilian beef, Canadian beef. You can bring that beef in, process it, and ship that to Japan. They pay top dollar, China pays top dollar, and then they can feed us the scraps. That's really what it boiled down to. And it cut into the packers' bottom line, and they hated it. Ranchers were making a profit. That's bad. We don't want any ranchers to make a profit. So we got rid of cool. Immediately the next year prices fell. Remember that? I mean, it was like overnight, bang, hit us right in the face. So this is all just politics, guys, and we need to get rid of it. We've got to get rid of the federal government. I sound like a recording. I'm getting tired of hearing it myself, and I'm sorry.
It's okay.
The slaughter plants, we're gonna have to do something with the slaughter plants. I think we got 4 major slaughter plants in America, and of course, they're all owned by overseas entities. Why is that even allowed? I've never understood that. Why do we allow foreign entities to buy our businesses? Why are we allowing foreign entities to buy our land? Once again, we gotta look to Florida and Ron DeSantis. He's trying to get through legislation to block that. What's Wyoming doing? Nothing, of course. We're just for sale. Sorry. Same thing goes with the processing plants of our grains. There's no reason we shouldn't be doing our own grain processing. We got plenty of farmland. Most ranchers have been out of the farming industry for years and years because they got paid to get out of it. Okay, that was another government program. Pay me to stay home and do nothing. I call it farmer and rancher welfare. And they've been doing that for the last 20, 30 years too. We gotta get rid of that. I'm too young, I'm sorry, but yeah. It's pathetic. We shouldn't be paying anyone not to work, you know. If you wanna choose not to work, that's your right. But we certainly, the federal government certainly shouldn't be paying people not to work. We should be marketing and helping America, you know, the old Make America Great Again. I didn't see what was so bad about that. As a matter of fact, I kinda liked the idea, but. Anyway, I've hit my main topics. Hopefully that gives you a little bit of understanding what I'm fighting for. And if you have any questions, please ask. Anything? Anybody?
I think the biggest problem with schools is block funding, because they don't have to budget anymore. They get a certain percentage of the Wyoming money every year, and they're building up funds.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a problem, you know. The government's not rewarded to save money. No government entity is rewarded to save money, and that's something I want to look into too, is how we can reward, even down to our local levels. How can we reward our federal agencies to shrink? Yes, sir.
The system's been that way for decades. I was a city councilman when I was 23 years old. And I asked the simple question at a council meeting, why do we budget departments and then they spend the money so that they can get the same money next year?
And if they don't
get it.
That's right. That's exactly right. That's a problem.
And the city clerk said, well, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
I couldn't agree more.
It hasn't changed.
That's right. So if your dad would have told you on a Friday night, now son, I'm gonna give you $20, and if you don't spend it all, you're not getting the 20 next Friday. Now, what, are you gonna spend that 20?
Right.
But that's what we've trained, and I mean, you never hear about any, for example, our treasury office. So do you guys notice all these Idaho plates on tractor trailers? Why are they doing that? Does anyone know why they're doing that?
Because of the plate cost, registration cost, and licensing.
Because it's a lifetime plate.
Yeah.
And Montana.
You don't see near as many of them. Idaho is super simple to do. So why doesn't Wyoming offer something like that? Why don't we try to help the people of Wyoming a little bit? That doesn't ever cross their mind. And just think if we could shrink down and get 2, 3, 4 less treasurers in there, that equates into saving money in my mind. But of course, we're not rewarded to save money. No government entity is rewarded to save money. I don't know. Anything else? Yes, sir.
Government seems to be just like cancer, be that as it may. About the schools, and a little bit on the hospitals. You know, every doctor doesn't have to belong to the AMA, and I think 40% of them don't. Now, the schools have got the NEA. People, most of the teachers think they have to belong to the NEA, and they also have a woke agenda and a curriculum that's full of all this goofy stuff they're trying to teach the kids. Everybody says how great the teachers are, but that's not always the case. You know, and a lot of times they're young kids that have been indoctrinated in these foul things called colleges now. They used to be higher education, but now they're higher indoctrination. I think we need to have an interest in getting people who are at least objective. They don't need to have an axe to grind about pushing all this queer stuff and anti-American stuff, but they ought to be truthful and they ought to be objective.
I call it accountability. They need to be accountable for their actions. And part of what you're speaking of is the no kid left behind. So that didn't really bring the kids up.
No.
That just brought them all down to.
But we're equal.
That's right, we're equal.
But some's more equal than others.
Yes. But that has to do, we gotta get the feds out of our pockets there too.
Yeah.
The teachers have to be empowered, okay? I talked to a lot of teachers and I had some really good teachers. But you know, I also, does anyone know Betty Cotton? Okay, she's an old teacher. I remember having erasers thrown at me, getting beat with a belt. You know, there was accountability with
They had
Mrs.
a form of
Cotton.
education when I was.
That was real education. When a marble hit you in the back of the head because you were talking, it got your attention. You know, I got sent to the principal's office and I got spanked. I had accountability. Now, that wasn't even near as much as what I was gonna get when I got home, okay? Because they called mom and dad, and then I got a real beating when I got home. You ever heard that sound? Yeah, okay. Now, the teachers are afraid to discipline because they're afraid they'll get reprimanded by the principal or the parents. Now, how backwards is this? The school system was never designed to raise children. And that's kind of what the parents are wanting to do now. They don't want to raise their kids. They don't want to have any responsibility for their kids. So they're trying to make the school system do it. And of course, they're doing a very pitiful job because they're tying their hands behind their backs. They can't discipline them. The whole thing just needs a bomb taken to it practically. Yes.
I was at Jake's many years ago, and I was shooting pool, and the guy I was shooting with was a local principal. And I got to talking to him about the kids' education and his Common Core and stuff. And he made it quite clear. I mean, he was right out in the open and said, I don't care about that junk, I'm in it for the money.
Well, they're the ones that need to go.
Yeah.
You know, we need people in there that love teaching kids, and if they don't want to be there, they need to go. They get tenure, and then some of them, I've had some really bad teachers. And honestly, they could have affected me in a lot of different ways, but the good ones pulled me through. Anyway, anything else?
Well, we were talking about getting the federal government out of our pocket. Now, with the Biden administration in there, they're wanting to get rid of cash and go to a digital
What do you think of
finance
that?
system. Now, even nationwide, starting right in a town like Gillette here, has to figure out how they're going to get around that. Because the minute they force you to go to that digital coin, your bank accounts, anything you have that's in a bank account that's just showing paper, you won't have.
Trudeau showed us what's going to happen. You know, Trudeau really helped us out there. I hope people noticed what they did to those truckers and whatnot. You know, they just seized their accounts.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, I don't know what else we can do other than go back to gold and silver and coins. I mean, we have to reverse back into, but everything's regressed right now. You know, women's rights has regressed. We're totally in backwards mode in America right now.
Yeah.
But to survive, that's what I think we'll have to do. We'll have to trade, we'll have to.
But it's something for everyone to start thinking about, because unless something happens drastically this year,
I agree.
that'll become law, and
It's to you that we feel would affect a change and not keep things the way they are. And, you know, that's the definition of insanity, right? So this is why we've chosen some of the people that we have. Lyle is going to come up and share a little bit about the SAPA bill. And we're going to give him the microphone and let him tackle this complex. It's not complex, but we've made it complex.
But it is complex.
Yeah, you got it. Thank you, Lyle.
Thank you, Pastor. Can you hear me okay?
Keep it close.
Keep it really close, yeah. Right. So this SAPA bill that got passed in the Wyoming State Legislature, and one of the gentlemen that was correct in not voting for it was Mr. Fortner. My compliments to him, because I did a little research on that today, and I'm really surprised that either it's intentional or these lawmakers are not paying attention to what they're doing. I've got the bill. It's the Second Amendment Protection Act is what the title is. This article shall be known as and be cited as the Second Amendment Protection Act. The Second Amendment Protection Act is enacted under the authority of the Second and 10th Amendment of the United States Constitution. So pay attention to this. Article 1, Section 24 of the Wyoming State Constitution, Wyoming's agreement with the United States that the state adopted when it joined the Union under the United States Constitution's system of dual sovereignty. And the next thing that comes up is, and the Printz versus United States. This was a lawsuit, federal Supreme lawsuit that happened in 1997.
Make sure it's up on the screen.
Oh, yeah, I better page that down, right?
Yes.
There it is right there. So, what is Printz versus United States? Does anybody know what that is? So, I'm going through this statute. This is law now, people. This is law. I'm going through the statute today, and I get to the end, and I don't like the end of it, but there's more to this. Okay, so the Printz versus United States Supreme Court ruling that came down in 1997, the Supreme Court justices ruled that the United States has no authority under the Constitution and enumerated rights of the federal government versus the non-enumerated rights were left up to the states. And they determined that the states had no right to force people into registering their guns as they were buying them. So it became a moot point anyway, because in 1997, the Supreme Court ruled that they had no authority to do it, but by that time they had also passed the federal gun registration law, so it's a moot point. So our state lawmakers put in this dual sovereignty Printz versus United States in there, which has nothing to do with pickles. It has no authority. But the thing that was determined in this court case in 1997 was the fact that the Supreme Court justices by majority ruled that because of the, let's go back to, let's see, Wyoming's agreement with the United States that the state adopted when? What is the, it's LSO, Legislative Service Office. Did they intentionally plan it? There's been a lot of news media out there about this new statute, but nobody's brought this up. That lawsuit, Printz versus United States. And that's very important when it comes to this statute. Nobody has said squat about it. Surprising? We're all learning about this tonight, and I learned about it today by doing research. Yeah. So there's a flaw right there in this statute. The legislature further declares that the authority for, and they give the numbers 9-14-201, actually through 9-14-203 is provided by the findings in 6-8-406, and I don't think anybody's even looked that up to see what that is. I didn't have time. So do I need to, yeah, I need to page that down.
I can do
Okay. All right, so we finish up there. Prohibiting the enforcement of federal regulation of firearms, firearm accessories, magazines, and ammunition penalties, defense of Wyoming citizens, okay? This state and all political subdivisions of this state are prohibited from using any personnel or funds appropriated by the legislature of the state of Wyoming or any other source of funds that originates within the state of Wyoming to enforce, administer, or cooperate with any unconstitutional act. Okay, first of all, it's not saying that the state can't do it, it's just that it prohibits any funding. Get it? It's not prohibiting anything, just funding. Read the words. And the other one is that it infringes or impedes on the free exercise of individual rights guaranteed under the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States. Notice the 12th Amendment isn't even mentioned here. And that's the one that gives gun rights actually, or not enumerated responsibility of the federal government to the states. it was left out. Let me go back here, nothing in this. Here's the other one. Nothing in this act shall be construed to prohibit the Wyoming federal government entities from accepting federal funds for law enforcement purposes. I like it. I had a gentleman that does a blog. He's got, a couple of 100,000 followers, and I showed this to him yesterday, and I said, read it. And he read it, and he said, what am I supposed to say? It contains nothing. But we have lawmakers in the state that voted for this, and they're saying that this thing is rock solid. Have they not read what they put together? Dissected it?
They probably have.
So you think it's intentional?
Yes.
Exactly.
Or they read what was presented,
Yeah. They read what was
a
presented.
couple sentences, you know,
Yeah,
it's a good
exactly.
thing. Let's hurry through this. We got other bills.
So, Part C, any public officer as defined in Wyoming Statute 6-5-101 who knowingly violates subsection A of this section is guilty of a misdemeanor by imprisonment for not more than 1 year. Do we have that up there? Right there, okay, not more than 1 year, a fine of not more than $2,000, or both. Okay. Do you know, it says knowingly. All right, you know what they're referring to? They're referring to Printz versus United States. How many of us in this room knew about this until I brought it up tonight? Do you think a police officer is going to know about this? That's exactly what it's referring to. Police officers are peacekeepers. They're not attorneys. They're not constitutional or federal law wizards. Of course they're not going to know about it, so they'll never be fined for actually enforcing a red flag law. Oh, and by the way, the Supreme Court in that 1997 ruling said that if they're mentally ill, if they're felons, if they're judged to be incompetent, they're not allowed to have guns. They reinforced it. Oh, so my neighbor decides that I'm unsafe because he does something and I tell him, I hope your dog dies. So he calls the police and said, I was unruly and not a very nice guy. So the police show up and they say, we'd like to take a look at how many guns you have. This court case in 1997 reinforced the ability to law enforcement to do that. Nobody knows that. You think it was planned? Yeah, so there's more to this bill than is at the bottom of the page on this bill. And you're right, that last paragraph gives authority to the federal government, takes it from our law enforcement and gives it to the federal government. So there's more wrong with this bill. And we've got a couple of guys back here that aren't disagreeing with me, right?
Oh, we agree with you 100%.
100%. Bill Faulkner's correct. The other guys are wrong.
And we have 2 or 3 of them in here talking to us.
Yes. Yeah.
Another point about this decision, which is more properly called Mack Printz versus U.S. Richard Mack and Jay Printz were the 2 officers that got that passed.
Yeah,
Anyhow,
Sheriff Mack out of
if-
Arizona and Printz out of Montana.
Yeah, when you read the Cornell University Law Review on this, you know, this Supreme Court article, it quotes EPA versus Brown, and several other ones, which all state that no federal regulatory agency has any statutory authority over the states.
Yes,
All they can
that's
do is
correct.
threaten to withhold your money, but they
Yeah.
have no legal authority to tell you what you gotta do. And
And-
that's for our anti-Fed people here, one of which I am. That should be important.
why people are we sending our money from Wyoming to Washington? Why are we not keeping it here?
Because your representatives are not necessarily
Yeah.
We want to
representatives.
move on
So,
and work with those people.
right,
We want to keep them happy.
there was a gentleman that was running for governor a couple of terms ago, lives in Cheyenne, and he introduced the concept of nullification. Instead of spending the LSO's time on this and everybody else's time on this, they could have just announced nullification for gun control. That's all they had to do, is nullify it. And they would have been done with it. Well, the lawmakers say, well, if we do that, then we're gonna get a subpoena from the federal government, and they're gonna want us to appear. Well, Taylor Haynes said, let them subpoena Wyoming. We don't have to show up. There's nothing in the Constitution that says we have to. Well, they'll take our money away. Well, it's our money. Well, just keep it. You know, let's play some chess here. Anybody got some guts? Let's play some chess. I think this could be fun. If we don't send it to them, what are they gonna do? Send federal marshals after it?
We could send them illegal immigrants.
Just take your money out of the bank first.
Yeah.
Do that first, number one.
Right.
Thoroughly good.
Yeah.
So, let's just jump down to, I'm doing really good.
Did we see that first screen that showed who voted for it?
Well, that was the one, that
Was that the first screen?
That was just the sponsors. It'd be nice to see who voted for that, though.
Yeah.
I think I can take you
just
to
had
that.
it. You just had it. You s-
The very tippy top.
That's the sponsors.
Not that one.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
sponsors, but who
And
voted
that's
no and who
Rockville.
voted
Oh.
for nay and yay? That's what you're looking for.
Go to Wild Ledge and go to bill search, and then it'll show the yays and nays on all the readings.
Yeah.
Oh, I just got out of it. I thought, anyway, I got the yays and nays on printed form here.
I'll look it up, it's just called SAPA.
Yeah.
If one has the name.
No, SF 102.
If you want to take a picture.
Yeah, I think Troy McEwen was, he didn't vote.
No,
No, he didn't vote on it.
no, he voted against it.
Are you at 92?
Yeah, Troy voted against it.
No.
No.
Are you back?
We're still on the,
She wanted to see the sponsors
yeah.
of this vote. I know, but then she said the sponsors are even better.
Well, you actually should know who the sponsors were and who voted yes and who voted no on it
He
also.
voted no on
Can
it.
we see the sponsors again from
Yeah,
the
he's saying
sponsor?
Yeah, can you page up to the sponsors?
Yes.
No, they're going-
I'll get there in a second.
And just
There
pause.
you go.
That's the abortion, we're not
That's
gonna
the
have that.
abortion.
That's the abortion bill.
I'm sorry.
Oh, go
I
ahead.
don't know what I'm looking at.
There we go.
Stop.
Voila.
Wild duck down.
Driscoll.
Thank you very much.
Nethercott.
So, roll call. Yeas, Senators Anderson, Baldwin, Bonner, Case, Cooper, Dockstader, Driskill, Ellis, Hicks, Hutchins, Kinskey, Kolb, Kost, Landon, Nethercott, Pappas, Perkins, or
Nethercott.
Nethercott, okay. Let's see, Scott, Steinmetz, is that right? Steinmetz, there we go, and then Wasserberger. The nays, Senators Bittman, Bouchard, French, Furphy, James McEwen, I guess he did vote. Yeah, I thought he was absent. Ruffus, Seltzer, huh? Okay. And then, let's see. Anyway, that's the rundown on how things voted. One other thing I want to do is, so also keep in mind that in this statute, they address public officers And then they also address public servants, depending on how they want the thing to read, okay? So the officers can be cited for a misdemeanor by by violating the statute, the new statute, and public servants cannot.
Qualified immunity.
I caught that one also. So this public servants must be the people that run the officers. Must be.
Or however they identify that day.
Yeah, or what the definition is.
Identify.
So I want to let Troy speak because I always enjoy listening to him, but what you've got to do, people, is you've got to get out there and you've got to educate your friends, your families, your enemies, those people that you come into contact with. You've got to do it. You've got to, and sometimes you think, listen, they're not listening to me. They are. They're hearing you, but it takes a while to soak in. So repetition is what it takes. We are not going to accomplish this by having good teachers. We're going to accomplish this by being persistent in what we do. That's what we've got to do. I do it even in my office with clients. Yes. Sometimes my wife says, could you keep your mouth shut? And I said, that's an inability.
I've tried.
I've tried and I can't do it. Yeah, but that's what you've got to do. If you stand on a principle and you think it's right and know it's right, you've got to educate. You just have to. C.S. Lewis once wrote, morality is a decision. And it's also an ideology. Because he said, I could say, I'm never going to be a bully again the rest of my life. And on the other hand, maybe I'll just be a little bit of one. It's an ideology. Troy?
Do you have a list of the representatives that voted for it and against it?
Yeah, I got it right here.
Did you read those off?
He
I
just
just
did.
did.
He did
No,
the
that was
Senate.
the Senate.
Oh, the Senate. Oh, no, the representative, I'm sorry.
Representative.
I'm going to give this microphone to Troy so he can talk and I'll look for it.
Okay.
Excuse me, Lionel or Ed, you're gonna skip the abortion, but could you scroll down just so we can see so I can write down the number?
Yeah. Pastor can do that for you.
House Bill 92.
Yeah. Didn't have time for that one tonight.
Passed the new federal.
That's another good one. Thank you. Good.
I had the right to remain silent, just not the ability. I wish we would have got more done with this. So I'm going to start at the federal level. They just passed the red flag laws. Senator Loomis initially supported the mental health part of that. You know what that means?
Transgenders can't own a gun?
If you dig into it and look at it, that means a fourth grader diagnosed with ADD or ADHD can be put in the NICS system now. They don't even have to come get the guns. And how many fourth and fifth graders do you know have been diagnosed with that probably didn't have it? My issue with 102, it won't stop any of that. 87 wasn't perfect either, I get that. But you can drive trucks through 102. And the red flag law just passed. You know what's going next week? When they get out of their 2-week vacation? Assault ban. It has nothing to do with assault weapons. It's 64 pages, 200 weapons. 200 of the most popular selling weapons in the country. You know what's not on the list? An SKS. And many of you may not know what an SKS is. It's the primary Chinese infantry weapon.
Oh.
You could buy one of those. You know what else you can own? Thank the Lord, because I have one. An M1. Do you know what George S. Patton said about the M1? Greatest implement of war ever produced. You can have one of those. You just can't have an AR-15, which shoots a .223 or a .556. It's a .22 on steroids. They're banning guns by cosmetics. I guarantee I'd rather be shot by a .223 or a .556 than a .308. I should have brought two of the bullets. I have them. One looks like this. One looks like that. And we may be too late to hang the stuff on this before it's done. It is so evil back there. The Republicans have a version of it also. Their version of gun control is we'll let the states decide. Sounds good, doesn't it?
No.
Except for they're going to apply $750 million if you decide to play ball with them. What happens in Cheyenne when they dangle federal funds?
People start dancing.
Oh, we gotta have it. Gotta. Let's spend it. It would cost Campbell County $6 million to feed kids. And they could cut it to $3 million if they quit sending buses out feeding adults during COVID and all the other crooked things they've done. But we're going to take the $6 million. My opinion was that the school board asked them, what are you going to do about this? Well, we're working with our senators. Let me tell you about our senators. Loomis just came out and endorsed Nethercott. Up is down, down is up, left's right. It's getting so convoluted. And the problem with this bill is it caused a whole divide amongst the conservative party. If you didn't vote for this bill, you were a bad man. You were a terrible guy. We're going to cut your funding off. We're going to go out and make sure all our big donors don't support you. Anyway, that's what they told Bill Fortner and Dan Larson. And then you got GOA coming after them. Gun Owners of America. Been in the state for 1 year. 1 year. And their goal is to compete with WIGO. I'm not a member of either. But I'm going to tell you this. The people GOA went after, one of them's near and dear to my heart, Bill Fortner. They called him Red Flag Fortner. This guy has voted for against every gun control bill ever. He didn't vote for this. And if you read it, I can come take your gun and your gun and your gun, and you know what your only saving grace is? You got to count on the county attorney to go after the county sheriff. That's going to happen when unicorns come down and start farting Hershey's Kisses.
They are, didn't you know?
I'm looking for. The other thing is, they're going to pass it to the state level. And then it's going to go to an AG, who is what? Anybody?
Attorney General.
Appointed by the governor. So once again, we have given the governor even more power. The governor will decide whether you get your guns back or not. You think he has time for that? Do you think our current governor cares if you have guns? I'm not going to pontificate much more on this bill. But we can hang all we want on it later. We needed it now. And the problem is, when you build a framework, what can be hung on the framework?
Poison pill.
bad things too. We have this term. I'm a little fired up today. I've been spending the day arguing with Ogden Driskill,
Keep it going.
who thinks I'm the devil now. So I must be doing something right. But at the end of the day, we keep passing bill titles that do not much of anything. And we have this new, every election cycle there's a new word. You know what this one is? I know you've heard it. Effective. I'm effective. Troy, you're not effective, according to Ogden Driskill. You keep tilting at windmills, you keep fighting. You know what effective in Cheyenne is a synonym for? Compromise. I have 19 green books. I haven't got through them all yet. You know what those 19 green books are? Lyle does.
I don't know what they are.
The statutes of Wyoming.
Yes.
We go down there and it's like a game. Who can pass the most laws? Who can get their name in the green book? We should be going down there saying, how many green books can we get rid of?
Yes.
There you go.
The truth of the matter is, the Second Amendment says shall not be infringed. The Wyoming State Constitution says will not be denied. Do we really need gun laws? Or do we
Why
need,
this one?
I would argue no.
Okay.
I would argue we don't need any of them. I would say what we need is, I'm going to say backbone. Paul, you know what I'm thinking though.
Somebody that will fight for Wyoming citizens instead of fighting for their own agenda.
We need to stand up.
So you call them out.
The reason we have 19 books of laws is because that's how we get our federal funding. And we got to have our federal funding. And Ruben pointed something out. We send them $1 billion and we actually get about 1.1 billion back.
Sorry.
You're very close, so good job on your homework. We sell out the people of Wyoming to the federal government for $100 million. Campbell County school budget, $138 million. Feeding the kids costs $6 million. And we're arguing whether we're going to accept $6 million versus same-sex bathrooms?
There won't be a need for school.
Unfortunately, I think you're right.
Troy, question.
Yes, sir.
What does the current superintendent of schools in Wyoming think about this?
Brian Schroeder is a fantastic guy. Everybody in here, when you go there, you should vote for him. I sat down, I brought a CRT bill, and I went to an education committee meeting. I presented my bill. It's the first time I ever interacted with him. And he's a state elected official. And he went up to the microphone, and I thought, here we go. The state's gonna do this. He actually fought with me for it. He's trying to do the right thing. So he's a very good guy. This bill, actually we talked to him today, and what he said about it was, I'm focused on education right now, and I don't have a good idea what's going on with it. So we're waiting for a call back. He'll look into it. He's also doing this thing called the campaign. So he's going all over the state trying to convince everybody he's a good guy. By the way, Trump endorsed him. Trump endorsed Chuck Gray. Loomis endorsed Tara Nethercott. Our own senator. It's bad, but I'm sure most of you have seen the Facebook post I put out yesterday, just calling for the divide to end, the fight to stop, people to quit attacking other people. We have people going after Bill Fortner, conservatives that are on our team, supposedly.
I just wanted to add, Loomis, whatever, also endorsed Degenfelder.
There you go,
Yeah,
Who's that?
Degenfelder. And here's what I love about Gun Owners of America. If you go look at all their endorsements, they've endorsed both candidates in the same race. Brilliant, isn't it? Let me help you out.
They're a scam.
We have to find a way to get people like Bill Fortner in the Senate. We have to find a way to get Bob Wharf in the Senate. We have to find a way to get Dan Larson in the Senate. If we can do that, it changes the complexion of the entire legislature. And Patty Junick.
Tricia, yeah,
Tricia Junick.
Troy, on what you're saying there about Bill Fortner, did you guys get the text message today about the red flag Bill Fortner deal?
Yes.
Okay, so those are lies, obviously, but that's totally lies, and there's no accountability for that?
Yeah. There's two things going on right now. And poor Bill Fortner is under a 3-prong attack, where some of them are under 1 or 2 prongs. He's got GOA going after him, he's got part of the Republican Party going after him, and he's got the Western Conservative PAC.
The True PAC or something, I think it said.
True Western Pack or something.
Yeah.
It's a fourth one.
There's
It's-
another one too, the CC Cold Country Conservative PAC. Yeah. It's going after Fortner as well. That's John Barrett too, by the way.
So how can they get away with lies like this? I don't understand. Where's the accountability here? how do we get this rein back in?
Well, here's the problem. The PAC you're talking about, the one I want to mention, the Western Conservative PAC, is out of Colorado. It's run by probably Nephi Cole and Michaeli. Regrettably, what we do in the legislature when we pass laws, we said we'd accept any federal lobbyists too, so they can do it legally. And if you go after them, you're violating their First Amendment rights.
To lie?
But the truth of the matter is, Bill Fortner voted for Stand Your Ground. Bill Fortner voted for every pro-gun bill ever. When we put together the letter that went to Barrasso and Loomis, Bill Fortner was one of the first ones to sign it. And now we're calling him Red Flag Fortner? It's brutal this year.
Going forward, we've talked about this. After these election primary and general are over, I guess I better take this. After the primary and general elections are over, we are going to be working very hard to bring all of you the voting record of all of these people that are calling people names. And I think we're going to bring the truth to the people. What do you think?
We have to.
We have to hold them accountable. If they want those positions so bad that they lie about it and they get into office, we are going to hold them accountable. We're going to bring the news to you. Yes, sir.
There was a law passed quite some time ago stating that political speech didn't have to be true.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. Yeah. It can be fairy tales. You're right.
Yes, sir.
Troy, you mentioned it, we have these PACs that are so influential, like GOA, that are
doing hit pieces on guys that we know that it's a lie. We have representatives and senators that are not standing up for Bill Fortner, knowingly that it's false. Okay? Anybody that wants to take, John Bear's not here, but you need to tell John Bear that you need to come out and discredit GOA's hit piece. Because if you don't, that means you're complicit with the lie. And it's coming from Campbell County. It's not coming from GOA. It's not coming from Western, whatever, Protection Agency, whatever. But it's coming from right here, Campbell County. And guys, ultimately, they're trying to get Ogden Driskill reelected. There's a lot at stake, and there's a lot of people that's been promised a lot of things, and it's all politics. And you can go up and ask Chip Neiman, you can ask John Bear to their face. I don't think they're gonna tell you the truth, but they're gonna tell you that we have nothing to do with it. And I'm telling you guys, vet your candidates, because I am. I'm vetting my candidates.
Okay.
And, no, I'm just, okay.
Point made.
We're not here to throw anybody under the
No, I'm
bus.
not, I'm not.
Well,
I'm not
you know-
throwing
you know where I
I'm not
stand.
throwing anybody under the bus.
Okay.
I'm trying not to.
All right, we've tried to avoid that.
Okay.
All right,
But-
we're
but at the
gonna
end
tell
of
the
the day-
truth. We're gonna tell the truth,
Okay.
but we're not gonna throw anybody under the bus,
Okay.
okay? And let people connect the dots.
I apologize, I thought this was thrown under the bus session, right? I got the wrong memo, sorry about that.
Just to, set the record straight, the CCC PAC has not sent out any kind of a hit
They used
piece
to, because I
against
joined a
Bill.
long time ago. They used to do a lot of things.
He's not on the,
If I could, I'd take my money.
Hit list.
he's not on the list of
Candidates.
candidates,
Okay.
but there has not been a hit piece.
Anyway,
Out against
keep in
him.
mind, going forward, we're going to be bringing you voter records, like Ogden as an example, I think his voting record is 41, 42%. Mr. Fortner is.
Can you use the mic, please? We can't hear you, Lyle.
Oh. Anyway, going forward, I got to get this on recording for Lois, but going forward, we're going to be bringing you voter records. I think Ogden Driskill's voting record is something like 42%. Mr. Fortner is 100%, am I correct?
Eric Barlow is 10%.
Eric Barlow is 10%.
And Roger Connett, Marty Halverson sent out a voter guide, I guess, from questionnaires. And Roger Connett, who's running against Driskill and Bill Fortner, his record came in at 70%.
And that's better.
But
That's much
still,
better.
it's not a conservative enough to vote for, while Bill Fortner's 100%.
Yeah, Bill Fortner, keep in mind, is 100%. So this is the type of information that we're going to bring you going forward. This is the way we have to, well, first of all, John Patriot's a spinoff of John Birch Society. Okay?
You said that.
John Birch does not endorse candidates. We maybe not should have got into that business, but we should have stayed in the business of educating. And that's what we're doing going forward, is educating. Okay? I guess you want to end it?
Because John Patriot is not a PAC,
No.
so you can't raise funds
No.
to support or.
Right. And it's 10 after, so.
Yeah, what we're gonna be doing going forward is, we're gonna be putting the bills up, okay? And we may be commenting on the bills, but you make the decision. You connect the dots. And that's what we're all about. We're education, we're not, we're not, like I said, we're not vanilla either, okay? If you think we should be standing up here telling you names and addresses and things like that, that's not what we're all about. We're just interested in getting the truth out. That's what we want. We want the truth, because it's so easy to morph over into a lie.
That was the reason why that conservative voter list was put out, so that you would know who the conservatives are. We didn't endorse necessarily a candidate. We just told you who the conservative candidates are. Barb.
And I agree with Troy. He said we really shouldn't need any of these bills what we need to do is start saying no, which I think, Ruben, you will be saying no to federal funds, which is what we need, is people to be
Yes.
willing to say no and cut the budget. And then we need to start nullifying whatever actions that the federal government is, whatever unconstitutional federal laws they're passing. We just, as a state, we should say, no, we're not gonna follow it because it's unconstitutional.
I think
So
maybe I
what
should
part
spend my
of
first
no
year
do they not
just
understand?
repealing laws, bills.
Would be
And we don't pass
awesome.
any. How's that sound? We just spend a whole, maybe 4 or 5 years just repealing.
That would be awesome.
That might get us further ahead than
That
what
would
we're
keep
doing
it a
now.
lot simpler.
So it's
Ruben,
quarter
I'm with you.
after 8, and we're gonna stick around here for a little bit and visit. And, yeah, go ahead, Jacob.
Yeah, on the point of education though, is Roger Connett's own words to County 17 was that he was the, I believe, the president of the economic development and the chairman of the Chamber of Commerce. I can't think of any more tax-hungry groups than those two groups together. Makes you a little weary of voting for a tax-hungry person.
And that type of topic right there can be also reserved for discussion with the group, and it's called education. That's what I was getting about earlier. So we're going to adjourn this. Please stay.